Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It is Full Press NFL Sunday. That's right, we were back. We had last week off. I was away. Couldn't do the show. No way I was going to be able to wake up for it anyways. But anyways, I'm happy to be back. Glad we're back here live on another Sunday. Not so happy that the Patriots are 1-4. It's draft season in New England. It seems like it's a weird thing to say at this juncture of the season, but nonetheless, that's where we are at, or at least barring any sort of incredible turnaround that would literally have to start this week against the Bills. I highly doubt that the Patriots are going to be making any sort of run anytime soon. But hey, you know what? Stranger things have happened, and quite frankly, Braden, if there was going to be a season that a team that had such a terrible start could come back and kind of make some headway, it's probably this one because
Right.
I really don't know if there's that many elite teams in this league. And, we'll point to, excuse me, right off the bat, you go Kansas City, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. Well, all of them are it seems, very flawed in different ways and certainly are capable of losing any given week. So, again, it just doesn't seem like there's any real dominant team so far as we get into the bulk of week 7.
Yeah, and I guess just with the draft order, I mean, there's so many teams are 1-5 right now. Just kind of looking at it the other day, even though it's still so far away from the end of the season, it's kind of weird to see, how far back from the number one pick some teams are, even with the 1-5 record. But yeah, even for those top teams, it just seems like right now the offense across the league is down. I think there's at least maybe 12 teams going into week 7 that are averaging 21 points per game or less. So defenses are starting to evolve. We're seeing these offenses go through kinks that sometimes they'll figure it out week to week depending on the opponent, and then other weeks it's like nothing can go right. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments some of these offenses make. I think obviously Miami's probably been the best one, for the full body of work so far. Kansas City today, I think they have a good matchup. It's just seeing how they are able to take advantage of that against the Chargers team that's really been up and down. And then obviously the Niners kind of facing a young defense Monday night, but a defense that I think a little bit better than I expected this year. And obviously Brian Flores has not hesitated at all when it comes to blitzing. So it just seems week to week right now. Some of these offenses really can't seem to get in a groove and know really where to attack some of these defenses. And it's just going to be interesting to see how long that really takes to figure out.
Yeah, see, Tom Brady retires and offensive football just falls apart. It's not a coincidence, folks. No. Look, the reality of it is there are a lot of young quarterbacks in this league, and very few have established themselves. I mean, for years we've had, there's always been young quarterbacks in the league, but again, I mean, there's been Brady and to some extent even Rodgers and Drew Brees and guys that have been there for 10 plus years that have won a Super Bowl or Super Bowls or MVPs in the case of Rodgers and Brady. You don't really have that now. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is leading the group, but a lot of that is kind of, he's kind of the oldest. A lot of these young quarterbacks have been in the league for just a couple seasons, or in like Jalen Hurts' case, it's really his, like, you think he's, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but the reality of it is he's a younger quarterback in this league, still trying to figure it out. So, I think there's a little bit of that. It's not to say that, it can't improve across the board, but, it's certainly lacking that elite consistency, I would say, from quarterbacks this season. And I think that has an effect on the offenses. But what's crazy, though, is at the end of the day, it's not so much the offense, it's the Browns defense that's somehow leading the league. I think it's 200 yards a game.
Yeah. I think
And
52 first downs allowed all year or something like that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure the Patriots did that like the last 2 weeks combined. So it's impressive to say the least. But they pick up the big win last week, knocking off San Francisco. Perhaps Deshaun Watson is an addition by subtraction. I don't know. Maybe that's a little harsh. Maybe it isn't. Either way, they played a good football game. And again, they've been just surprising on defense because, yeah, I mean, we expect San Francisco to be good on defense, and they are. We expect Buffalo to be good on defense, and for the most part, they are. But it's Cleveland that's leading the pack.
Yeah, and I guess they've always kind of had the guys to get after the quarterback, but you just see every game. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, obviously new to them this year. He's just letting them kind of hunt and pin their ears back right now. I think there's a lot of times where you just see Myles Garrett kind of moving along the defensive line, and obviously don't really know. The opposing offensive line doesn't really know where to double team them. Whether it's with two interior guys or try to chip with the tight end. So I think it's just they do a good job kind of changing their fronts, and obviously, I think obviously when you have Myles Garrett, there's going to be one-on-one opportunities for these other people. But even the back seven, I've been pretty impressed with linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in his, I think, third season this year. He's been really good, and honestly, when you look at the secondary, probably a top 5 secondary in the league right now. I think Greg Newsome is kind of that cornerback that's really starting to break out. Former first round pick, so just seems like everything, all 3 levels. It's just they're all in sync right now, and when you have that ability to just kind of pin your ears back up front, it just makes everything seem to go a lot smoother for sure.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you're right. I mean, this team has been kind of a feared pass rush team for a while now, and it just seems now that figures all the expectations are kind of down right now, and now they're kind of exceeding them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. On the flip side, you go over to Miami, and all the talk about Miami is obviously about their offense, and the defense leaves much to be desired. Now, if you had a team that had Miami's offense and Cleveland's defense, well, now you're cooking. Now we have a dominant. That's your dominant team right there. That type of offense combined with that type of defense. Unfortunately, we don't have that, and you have to give a little to get some. And in Miami's case, they're giving up a lot defensively, but they are clearly one of the most or the most potent offense in the league right now. And through 7 games, if they, I believe it's, let me do some quick math, it would be 484 plus, so just under 500 yards of total offense today will move them into first place in terms of how many yards of offense scored by the most yards of offense scored through the first 7 weeks of a season. And that list is topped off by the 2000 St. Louis Rams, the 2013 Denver Broncos, and very surprisingly, the 2018 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. you have 2 teams that, well, obviously the Rams didn't win the Super Bowl in 2000 for various reasons, not as the least of which was their ability to score points. Obviously, the Broncos made it to the Super Bowl, and that was Peyton Manning's record season. And the Buccaneers, I'm pretty sure, went 5-11 that year. So very, very one just doesn't exist. But anyways, Miami's right there, number 4 all time right now with excuse me, 2,992 yards through the first 6 games. So that seems like a pretty easy bet to say, yeah, it's probably going to happen. And, through a combination of, yeah, this is the new era of NFL. It's very open and very favorable towards teams that are fast. And boy, is Miami fast. But this is also kind of speaking to how impressive they have been on offense. And, it's weird because generally when you're doing things like this, the quarterback is the most praised guy in that group. And so far it seems like Tua is not necessarily getting the love, I guess, that he might deserve. It's Tyreek Hill, it's Mike McDaniel, it's the scheme, it's this, it's that, the other. But it's not Tua. Is there a reason for that, Braden?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think maybe just I think maybe the play style that he's had maybe could be the reason. I think just looking at his past showings anyway, I think there's always kind of been that question of just big games. We even saw it in Buffalo early this season, kind of needing everything to kind of go right. And not feel that pressure in the pocket. I think that's something that's also been a little underrated. Is the Dolphins' offensive line is really improved this year. Teron Armstead's missed some time with injury, but I think they've really improved since last season. But yeah, I think too it's maybe the play style. I think always having to have a clean pocket, not being able to face the interior pressure as much as some other quarterbacks have done, and being able to escape that. So I kind of look at that and just see the play designs that they've kind of used. I've been really impressed with just how they've been able to get guys the ball in space and obviously those fly motions, those sprint motions. You see a lot of other teams kind of taking that now in this copycat league. So I think for Tua, it's always going to kind of be maybe his play style is going to be discredited a little bit, but I think as long as he can continue to hit down the field and be accurate like he's shown in the past, I think he'll be fine. But it's definitely something where I think when you look at what he's done this season, there's been definitely some improvements, I think, when throwing the ball down the field.
Is he in the MVP mix right now? Because I feel like that it's very muddied right now. I
Right.
mean, it's early, but at times in the past we've had a pretty clear idea as to who's going to be kind of in the mix going forward at this point. So yeah, I mean, is he in that mix?
I think so. Probably just because they've been the most consistent. And two is probably, I don't really remember his numbers off the top of my head, but it doesn't seem like he's turning the ball over much other than that Buffalo game. So I think just the consistency he's shown compared to some of the other quarterbacks, and obviously we know it's a quarterback driven award. It's probably the most complete package I think that we've seen so far compared to any other quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. The usual suspects, Patrick Mahomes obviously can turn it on and kind of run away with it, but at the same time, through the first 7 games, it's nothing crazy coming from him. So it's like,
Hmm.
all right, who are the other candidates? Well, Josh Allen, but he's had a lot of up and downs and questionable moments. Jalen Hurts, you can say the same exact thing. Joe Burrow is going to have to do quite a bit to get himself back in the mix, but that's probably not going to come till the end of the season, if at all. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, if there's a year a non-quarterback could potentially steal this award, this could be it. But
Right.
he's
Or
been a little,
Tyreek, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Tyreek Hill, perhaps. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be a bad case if you think about it. I mean, his impact on the field it's hard to find an equal, certainly at that position. And again, the play from the quarterbacks just hasn't been, over the top. I mean, we've seen seasons where we've had an unbelievable quarterback play. I mean, you have several players that are just putting up numbers and just dominating and all that. But this year it seems to be the opposite. It just kind of seems like we have a lot of pretty good ones playing out there right now, and none have really separated themselves from the pack. So yeah, I mean, entering week 7, we don't really have a clear winner or clear front runner. And quite frankly, I don't even know if anyone can I mean, yeah, if they have one of those guys that we mentioned before, like Tua or whoever, have like this unbelievable week this week, maybe they start to separate themselves. But I don't even feel like there's a guy right now that's on the cusp of separating themselves. That's how odd this early MVP race has been. In reality, it's the best quarterback in the league race, because even with this down quarterback play, running backs and wide receivers have to deal with an uphill battle to even get in the conversation, into the legitimate conversation. We can always say, oh yeah, well, he should get some consideration. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm talking like, oh no, we actually think we should vote for him type of consideration. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, let's jump into our picks, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 games to pick here. And I think we can do that. So we already talked about Cleveland's defense. They're heading to Indianapolis to kick off week 7 for us, or at least according to my sheet. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that's the 1:00 game. I like Cleveland even with PJ Walker. Indy has been at times a surprise. Gardner Minshew's in there for the time being. No Anthony Richardson for the rest of the season, which is unfortunate for him and the Colts. But it's football and it happens. So, but I like Cleveland in this one again. Defense, we already talked about it, giving up only 200 yards a game. Like you said, 52 first downs through 6 weeks is fantastic. So give me Cleveland in this one.
I like Cleveland as well, and I think Kareem Hunt's also starting to get going on the offensive side. So yeah, no matter who the quarterback is, I think you're seeing that Hunt and Ford combo starting to really get going with his return. So with Grover Stewart out with the suspension, it's going to be, I think, a tough battle for that Indy defensive front. DeForest Buckner's had a good season, but I just don't know if they have enough to really thwart that Cleveland offensive line, let alone going up against that Browns defense. So I like Cleveland here.
Tampa Bay hosts Atlanta, and look, I think Tampa Bay's really nice start, kind of coming down to earth a little bit. I mean, you're getting what you get from Baker Mayfield. You get some nice moments, but you also get some head bashing up against the wall moments, and just some mediocre quarterback play. And the reality of it is, this team is, again, they're not as good as they were with Brady under center. So, but fortunately for them, they get to play Atlanta, who I think they Desmond Ritter throws an interception in the end zone every week. It feels like maybe perception. It's not quite reality, but that's what I'm perceiving right now. I think he's going to do that again against a team that can create turnovers. It still baffles me that they couldn't last year, but this is a team that can certainly create turnovers, and I think Desmond Ritter's going to give them a couple.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It's Atlanta has kind of burned me a couple times, so I don't really know what to expect week to week. But like you said, I think this is the Bucks defense that's probably one of the better ones they're going to see for a little while. They're really playing well, getting after the quarterback, and I think you kind of look at how Baker's been able to attack all areas of the field. I know he missed some last week, but him and Trey Palmer seem to be in a good groove, a rookie day 3 pick, and then Mike Evans is still producing as well as he has. So it's hard for me to fully trust Atlanta. I have to go with the Buccaneers.
Can't blame you on that one. Next, New England hosting Buffalo. Um, Look, Buffalo has puzzled me at times, and kind of they have great performances followed by duds. So it's certainly possible that they could have a dud. I don't know if it's gonna. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna pick the Patriots at all the rest of the season, because I mean they've given me no reason to at this point, unless they're playing the Jets. I'll pick them against the Jets. Yeah, I'll take Buffalo. Would it surprise me if New England plays them close or threatens to win the game? Probably not, because the Patriots are capable of playing a lot better football than what they are, and the Bills are certainly capable of playing down to their competition. But I think at the end of the day, I think Buffalo's going to win this one.
Yeah, the like you said, just seeing how close this game can be, that's going to be, I think, the most interesting thing. I think Buffalo, 6 of their last 7 wins, or 5 of their last 6 wins against the Patriots have been 12 or more points for the margin of victory. So these have kind of been dominant games for Buffalo lately. But you talk about the losses on defense, no Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, Daquan Jones. That's certainly shown up a lot. It's just I don't know if the Patriots are going to be able to take advantage of those holes and obviously keep up on the scoreboard. So I don't know if it'll be quite as close as it could be, Buffalo playing down to the opponent, but I could always be wrong on the Bills. But I'll go with Buffalo here.
All right, next we have Washington at the Giants. The Giants are essentially the Patriots, but in the NFC right now, it feels like very similar colors and all that stuff. I'll take Washington. I think they're better. That's about it. That's all I have. I mean, the Commanders over the Giants. I don't think it's going to be that intriguing of a game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. Not a lot of great reasons other than just injuries really starting to catch up to New York. Eric Bieniemy's offense has, I think, started to really come together as well. You're seeing really a lot of different weapons becoming, useful in that offense. Curtis Samuel's had a good stretch. We know what Terry McLaurin can do, and then obviously both running backs, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, have really started to kind of find roles that really suit their style. So I like what this offense is doing, and I like Washington to win this game.
Next, we have Detroit heading to Baltimore, and the funny thing is, you can maybe make the case that it's Detroit that has the best team in the NFL right now, having won 4 games in a row, and really just being really good on both sides of the ball. Obviously, their offense is really good. Jared Goff is arguably playing at a MVP level, very quietly. I mean, again, I think people sometimes narrative gets in the way of reality, and I think too many people are still stuck in the mindset that Jared Goff's just a guy. He was a throw in for that Matt Stafford trade, and he was a bust at #1 overall. Yada yada yada, all that stuff. This is a guy who took a Rams team, albeit a very talented Rams team, to the Super Bowl, lost, but he still did that. And since he arrived in Detroit, he's really been a really a calming presence there for the Lions, a team that really has had a lot of turmoil and craziness over the years. So I like them very much against Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the more disappointing teams, at least for me, because I had a lot of high expectations for them and Lamar Jackson. I like Detroit on the road in this one.
Yeah, you pretty much stole the words right out of my mouth. I've been really disappointed with the Ravens, especially on offense. I know they haven't necessarily turned the ball over a lot, and they're still winning games. But I kind of thought this passing offense would really evolve with some of the moves they made at wide receiver, and obviously the change at offensive coordinator. But yeah, you said it correctly. I think Lions are playing a little bit better both sides of the ball. I think they can really dominate Baltimore in the trenches. Kind of haven't really seen anyone necessarily take over for that Ravens pass rush either. I know the Lions are dealing with some injuries at running back, but I think the way Jared Goff's playing, they're going to be just fine. It's probably going to be one of the better games of the week this week, and I just think the Lions have been playing better than the Ravens a little bit lately. So I got to go with Detroit.
Next, the Raiders are heading to Chicago to play the Justin Fields less Bears. I still went with Chicago because I mean, again, it's quite the quarterback battle there in the Midwest. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a shocking, like, huge 55-51 point. Maybe this will be the best game of the season with 2 backup quarterbacks, one being a journeyman and Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer, yeah, he's getting the start, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought maybe they had that young kid come in, but either way, it's flip a coin. I took Chicago.
I went with the Raiders. I've actually really been impressed with their defense lately. That's something I didn't really expect to say. Obviously Max Crosby, if he was probably in a different market, he'd probably be recognized as one of the best pass rushers in the league. He's on an elite stretch right now. But even in the secondary, I've been impressed with guys like Amik Robertson. Trayvon Merrick has done really well lately as well. So Raiders defense, I think, is where I kind of leaned in making the difference. So I had to go with the Raiders.
Pittsburgh at the Rams, an example of one team that has kind of disappointed, another one that surprised me. I'll take the Rams or at home in this one. I didn't really have too many high expectations for the Rams, but I also didn't realize that apparently they, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and all these guys are just this incredibly elite wide receiver core. And they played some really good football, both offensively and defensively. So I like the Rams in this one, especially against the Steelers, who again have been really disappointed. Certainly after their big 3-0 preseason.
I like the Rams as well. Defensively, I've been impressed, especially with how many young guys they got. Relying on those type of players in the front seven. Cornerbacks, Ahkello Witherspoon, for example, he's done really well. I think he's had an interception at least each of the last 3 games or 3 of the last 4. I just don't know if Pittsburgh can move the ball on the Rams defense right now. And it just doesn't seem like it matters what skill player they lean on week to week. Kyren Williams last week had a good game. He's out with injury, but yeah, Cooper Kupp doesn't look like he really missed a beat in his return. So it's just kind of that musical chair game right now for the Rams. Everyone's producing, and I think they're going to get the win today over Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you wonder, well, is Puka Nacua's target's going to go down with Cooper Kupp? I mean, now they just really have they just have a really great receiving group. I mean, it is what it is. So next we have the Cardinals heading to Seattle, part of the 4:00 slate. Geno Smith had a pretty good game last week, or threw for over 300 yards. This team has another kind of, at least for me personally, been a little bit more surprising. I didn't think they were going to be that good, but I am actually calling for the upset here. I like these wacky NFC West games, and I feel like the Cardinals. This feels like right for an upset. 1-5 versus 3-2. I think Seattle. They're certainly not the Seattle of the past, so I'm not giving them as much credit, to be able to hold off some sort of rally from the Cardinals. But I don't know. I just, in my gut, this is one of those games where I feel like, yeah, the Cardinals might just it might be ugly, kind of like what we saw last week with like the Eagles and the Jets and something like that. So give me the Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. I went with the Seahawks just because I think Arizona has been a little less competitive lately, than they were the first probably 3, 4 weeks. Obviously, that may not matter against Seattle, but I think the absence of James Conner, obviously him on IR, that's been a huge blow the last couple of weeks, and then even defensively, it's been a little bit tougher to watch in the back seven the last couple games. So. I could still definitely see an upset like you predicted happening, but in the end, I went with Seattle.
Next, we have Kansas City hosting the Chargers, and look, I haven't picked against Kansas City too often, actually at all this year, but I'm going to pick the Chargers this week. I think we see these close games between these two every year, and it always feels like Brandon Staley gets in the way. And look. I'm making this pick knowing that that's probably going to happen again, and I'm going to come in on Monday and do the morning show and be cussing about it. But no, like I said, I mean, Kansas City's played. They played some really good defensive football early in the season. It's been a little, off and on, the last couple weeks, more on than off, but still some moments where they kind of, it seems like they forget how to tackle. And it's just like, wait a minute, what do you do? Like you're supposed to hit that person. Yeah, look, I like the Chargers. I think they're at any given week, they're certainly capable of playing up to any opponent. They just don't do it, and that's the frustrating part about this Chargers team. I think they do it this week, and I think they hold out to pick up the victory. And like I said, a season like this season, these type of, I guess, upsets aren't necessarily going to be that surprising.
Yeah, this is definitely a week I don't maybe feel as confident when the offense has been struggling the way it has, even though the Chargers D it's not nowhere near elite. I think if anything that helps maybe Kansas City in this game. The Chargers though has had their ups and downs as well. We've seen Justin Herbert. It seems like every couple of games you're guaranteed to have a fourth quarter interception, whether it's completely his fault or the pressure just gets to him like Dallas did on Monday night. I went with the Chiefs just because I think how the defense is playing. The Chargers offense also having their little bit of struggles. Keenan Allen's having a really good year. I think over 500 yards right now, but with the injury to Mike Williams, it's a little bit of a handcuffed attack right now. So I think that'll be the difference is the Chiefs defense. I think we could see maybe more points than what we've seen in recent Chiefs games, but definitely no guarantee on that. I went with the Chiefs, but it's one I'm probably a little less confident on than most weeks.
Yeah, and again, you hope it should be a pretty good divisional matchup, and we don't get like sloppy football. But yeah, like I said, it's just one of those things. I always feel like these two teams might split every year, and this might be the one for the Chargers. So next we have Green Bay at Denver. I took the Packers. They've been struggling a little bit the last couple weeks. They should have Aaron Jones back today. But they're going up against Denver, and Denver stinks. So I think the Packers can handle the Broncos here and walk away in a rematch of Super Bowl 32. Yeah, 32. Super Bowl 32. Look at that, right off the top of my head. Anyways, I'll take the Packers.
This was the toughest game for me to pick this week. I kind of went Packers with the shrug emoji. I don't really know what to expect week to week with them. It's obviously a young group, but Jordan Love, I don't know if it's maybe the play calling kind of being dumbed down a little bit. It seems like, or just not seeing the field well for him individually. But it just seems like even with the Denver defense struggling, this seems like it'll be kind of a low scoring, kind of gritty game. Maybe come down to the last drive. I'll go with the Packers, but it was truly flip a coin game for me.
All right, and certainly what could be the game of the week. You have Philadelphia hosting Miami. Um, I went with the Eagles in this one. This was, I look at the Eagles and I say, well, they lost the Super Bowl. They're still 5-1. They haven't played great, and I think Jalen Hurts has been pretty good. I mean, he last week obviously having a pretty rough outing, but I still think they're a really good team, and I know it's tough to have a season after losing in the Super Bowl and to come out strong. And I think they've made the best of their opportunities. I think they're going to get better. I think this is a big test for them because I think if they can, figure out, how did the of all the teams, how did the Patriots keep Tyreek Hill in check? How did they keep that offense in check? And they're capable of scoring a lot of points with this offense. So I like the Eagles in this one. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I think the line when I made the spread when I made this pick was -2.5 for the Eagles. But yeah, I think that's appropriate. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. But I like Philadelphia at home.
I went with Miami. The Eagles secondary, obviously they've been banged up most of the year. No, I don't know how Eagles fans kind of do it every week when you got Josh Jobe out there. He's been a big liability. I just don't know if I like that secondary and back seven the way they've been playing lately against the Miami skill players. And just seeing the Eagles kind of go through their struggles a little bit offensively, I just went and leaned on the Dolphins and their offense for this game. I think it'll be a lot of points. I think it'll live up to the hype and being probably the game of the week. But I went with Miami, and maybe it's just also partly me just not buying into the Dolphins going into the season and thinking this is kind of a game that is really going to seal them as really a true contender going into Philadelphia and getting that big road win. So I like the Dolphins. I think it'll be a really good game and live up to the hype, hopefully.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I mean, the reality of it is their 5 wins have come against not so great opponents. There's a lot of 1-5 teams in there. Let's just put it that way. And look, I mean, Miami's one of the reasons why those teams are 1-5. But the reality of it is they haven't had quite a test like the Eagles or some of these other elite teams. And I think that's going to, that's going to tell us a lot today, one way or the other, whether they're a team that should be reckoned with, or maybe we should wait and see what they do against the rest of the elite teams or better teams in the league. So, all right, last but not least, the Minnesota Vikings hosting the San Francisco 49ers. I like the 49ers. This was even with some injury concerns and coming off the loss. San Francisco is just a better team. I think Minnesota is kind of going through the opposite of what they did last year. And last year they won a lot of very close games. This year they tend to fall on the other side of it. And quite frankly, I think it's going to even out. So yeah, give me San Francisco on the road in this one.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add there. I think obviously coming off a loss, you're gonna see Brock Purdy, I think, bounce back against
Yep.
this defense, even with those injuries. So I like San Francisco, even though Minnesota's had a lot of close losses. I just can't envision them really scoring much against this defense as well after the Niners coming off a loss. So I like the Niners.
And there you have it, folks. That's right. That's all of our picks. We'll be back obviously next week, but enjoy the games today. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Tune in tomorrow morning. Myself and John Sapichetti will be here talking about Sunday, and I'll certainly mention all the games that I got wrong in my picks. I'm hoping my anti-New England pick will eventually come back and work out in my favor, and the Patriots pull off the upset. So that's what I'm going with here. So anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned a little bit later from now, about 11:30 or so. We have our Full Press Fantasy Show with Kyle Senra. He will be on to give you and answer all your fantasy football questions heading into this week's action. So thank you everyone, and we'll talk to you later.